Hello, future designers and developers, and welcome to a video where we are going to be using some cards, making cards inside of CSS and HTML to kind of give some selection and break up the flow of our website. So we've been working on these portfolios, and this is my example on Figma. You can see that I've mostly recreated the top landing page inside of my website over here. I can't scroll down at all. This is all that I have. So inside of my Figma design, I have this as my landing, and then if you scroll down, I have got these three cards. And the first one is all kind of formatted the way that I'd want it, and then I'd kind of duplicate that same kind of process. So I'm not going to show off that. But yeah, this would be the next section of the website. Now for your website, you can either have it where you scroll down, you can find the cards right here. You also don't have to use cards. You could use some kind of zigzag or F structure, whatever you'd like to use, as long as it fits the flow of your website. Do something hybrid, do something crazy, as long as it looks nice. Now you can also have it all in one scrolling document, or if you wanted to have your cards on a separate page, you could do that if you just like link to projects and then each card is a different project that you've worked on. That might be something that you can do. For me, my projects are these YouTube tutorials, sample websites, and then game designs. So those are kind of the generic ones that I have right there. So what we're gonna do is we're going to throw these cards each inside of their own cell inside of a grid. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use CSS Grid to format this in the way that we want. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my HTML document. Let me make sure. I think I deleted all of the grid stuff. Cool. So go back into my index, and you can see I have all this landing inside of one of my divs. I'm going to format this real quick. So that is all the div landing. So right after the div landing, I want to create a new div. And this div is going to have a class that is equal to our container. This is where we're going to throw in our grid is inside of that container. So yeah, let's throw in all of our cards first. So we're going to do our div with a class equal to card. And inside of that div, we have an image to start. I'm just going to kind of leave this pretty generic right now. So I'm just gonna leave the source with a placeholder. And then after that, I'm gonna use an h3 with a class equal to, we're gonna say card text. No, this is the button, so we're gonna call it card button. Sweet. And then after my card button, I have a paragraph. So this paragraph, I'm also going to give a class equal to our card text. All right, and inside of these, I'm just gonna write something as a placeholder for right now. So we've got button, and then inside of here, we are just going to throw in description. So that's just gonna act as our placeholder right now. Let's see what we've done. If we scroll down, we now have the kind of the skeleton of our structure. We've got our image, we've got the button, we've got the description. So that right there is in there, but now we want to actually place it inside of a cell inside of our grid. So let's go into our CSS and let's actually start to call out our container and make our cards. So container, inside of this, we're going to start with our display grid. So we're turning on the grid right there. And then we're going to set some template columns and rows. So grid, template, columns. There are 3 columns and they all take up one fraction of the page. So 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. You could do the repeat if you wanted to, but I find this almost faster. Grid, template, rows. We just have one row, so we're just going to do this. I'm actually going to do it at 600 pixels. That's kind of the set size that I want. And I also don't want a glyph, I want a grid. Sweet. So that kind of gives that. We're not going to use any actually grid template areas. We don't need to call that out. It's just going to kind of automatically format. So it hasn't changed anything at all, but now it is inside of that grid cell. It's going to kind of automatically choose that. So now let's start actually editing this up. So let's call out our first card. So this is our card. The card itself, we want to set a background color. Background color. And the background color for this, I have it saved up here so I don't have to find it. This is RGB value with a lower opacity. Cool. Oh, that's going to take up everything. I think it's because I actually don't have other cards. So let me just copy and paste this card twice more, because we're really going to just be taking out and swapping out the content for that. Ooh. It's all next to each other. Let's see. We've got display, grid, template, columns. Oh, there we go. This is what I've been doing. No columns. There we go. Cool. So now it is at 600 pixels, which is just about what I have inside of my Figma. The drawing itself, or the card itself, is 566. So I just put it up to 600. This isn't going to be exactly that, but you get the picture. Sweet. Cool. So now what we're going to do, we're just going to continue to kind of edit this card into where we want it. So let's give it some rounded corners. This is border radius. And let's check what border radius did I use over here. This has got a rounded size of 26. So we go into here, 26 pixels. And you can see we've got the rounded edges. Cool. Let's add in some padding. So our padding left and right is a little bit greater than our padding top and bottom. So padding left, let's do 40 pixels. Actually, I want to make this responsive. Let's do 3 rem. Same with our padding right. We could do 3 rem. I should have just all done this in one statement, but it's okay. Cool. So now we're getting our content moving inwards just a little bit. And then we have got padding top. We'll make that 1 rem. And then padding bottom 1 rem. Cool. All right. So we kind of moved it around. Let's get to some margins in here. This time I am just going to do it kind of standard way. 1 rem, 3 rem, 3 rem, 1 rem. Move around the edges. Cool. So that doesn't look too bad. They're a little bit wider, a little bit more square shape than what I have right here. So I may bump up the size a little bit, but it's okay. We don't need it to be too big right now. We may bump up the size or just throw in some more padding on the actual sides back and forth over there. You can see now that I have a little bit more space over on this side. I might throw it in a wrapper and then do some auto margining around there. But cool. So we have these 3 items over here. So let's actually start to fill this out a little bit. So let's get into our index and let's start with our very first card. So the source up here, I already added my asset in here. It's this image right here. I'm just going to copy that. Paste that in over here. Oh, it's so tiny. Ah, it's so small. Cool. Oh, I think that's because I have this. That was an icon that I was working on earlier. Cool. All right, that looks a little bit better. Let's change up our button. So our button is actually that div class card button. And let's give it that background color. This is the color that I've been using for the website, so it's 00034E. That should give me, yeah, that bar right there. Cool. We're also gonna set a width of this. Let's do like 65%. So it only should take up 65%. Yeah, that's cool. It's about the size of the image, not too bad. And then let's actually be able to see what it says on there. So we're gonna change the color, and that is our off-white. That's fa fa fa. Better. Cool. All right. Let's do a text align center. Cool. And now let's pad it up a little bit. So padding, we're just looking for, we don't want to change anything about the top or the left and right. So padding top, let's do 1 rem, and padding bottom, we'll do 1 rem. Cool. Now we want a border radius, and I believe the border radius was 39 pixels. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. So now we have our button right there. The font for that is not exactly what I want. What is the font? If I look over at the Figma, yeah, it's the same font that I use for like my secondary text font over here. So that is this right here, my Playfair display. So we'll go and add that into the card button. Cool. It's a little bold, so I'm gonna drop down the weight. So font weight, and the font weight, we'll make it 200. That's better. I like that. We get a little bit more contrast, makes it pop a little bit more. We also are gonna do a text transform, make it uppercase. And then the font size on this is 24. So we're gonna do font size is 24 point. Cool. Sweet, now I have my description over here. What I'm going to do for that is I am going to go over to my Figma, and I'm going to grab all this text. We'll copy that, go into the HTML. We're going to paste that into the actual description right here. Format that very quickly so I don't lose any of it. Cool. So we have that text. We need to edit that text. So we'll go back into our CSS, and now that is our card text. Inside of here, we're gonna add in this. No, it's the same font. I believe I just used black. Yeah, it's just black. This again is 24 font. I think that's gonna be too big, but we'll see. Font size 24 point. Yeah, it's a little big. I don't think that it's necessary to have the font that big. Kind of makes it look a little childish. We'll down to 18. Yeah, 18's fine. Cool. All right. I want to add a little bit more weight to this. We'll do a font weight of 300 point. tell if that made a difference. It's okay. So now I am just going to center up those items. So inside of my card, I'm going to give this card a display flex. Ooh. Display flex. That's going to throw everything like that. We don't want that, so we want to change our flex direction into a column. Sweet. Image is totally taking up the whole page. So let's call out our image. I don't think I gave it a class, so I'm just gonna call out image and give that a set width of, let's do that 65% to keep it the same size as the button. Cool. And now I want to kind of align everything inside of this. So I am actually gonna make my grid row a little bit larger. We'll do 650. Yeah, that kind of gives it a little bit more space on the bottom. On the top, it's still not perfectly aligned. Cool, so now inside of our card, we gave it flex. Let's do our justify content to center. Ooh. I was having issues with this earlier too, so I'm just going to throw in some margin auto on the items that we have in here. So our image, our button, and our text. So now they are centered up, and I now have my card right here. I don't really love how wide it is, but that's okay. That's something that I'm going to change on my own time, and you can kind of play around with. But that's kind of a tutorial on how to make these buttons, how to make this nice card. This will eventually turn into a link, and you can click on that, but it's the same process as making these kind of links up here, just making sure that you have an A attribute class for your navigation links and another A attribute for your button links. So that is it. Thank you for watching. It's already been way too long. So I'll talk to you later. Peace out.